As a proud member of the queer community, I'm constantly on the hunt for positive representation in the media and have been for quite some time. About 12 years ago, Logo TV premiered a brand new reality show called The A-List New York, which was a Real Housewives type reality show following the fabulously mundane lives of some narcissistic gay and bisexual men. For some reason, it was renewed for a second season and got a spin-off show in Dallas. But that's not important right now, and neither are the cast members, as you'll soon find out. You see, ever so often, I'm starved for content that portrays gay people as the idiots that we really are. And boy howdy, did I find an overflowing pot of bullshit at the end of the rainbow.
I only date power gays.
The A-list doesn't have to do with money, it has to do with access.
There pretty much isn't any party that I can't get myself into.
Greetings, my good bitches. The name's Francis, Coke Francis. I'm a filmmaker, stand-up comedian, drag artist, and I'm here because I was promised delicious pancakes, but never received any. When the A-List first premiered in 2010, my clique of bisexual art kids and I were ecstatic over the idea, and we all tuned in weekly since this was before the days of streaming and binging. Not that the show is binge-worthy or anything, we soon realized it was trash, hated everyone on it, and still watched the entire first season like the stupid children we were. And it's remained forgotten. Until now. But to be fair, any media that normalized queerness at the time was something to be hopeful about. I'm still blown away that Drag Race was on TV in 2008, which was the same year Prop 8 passed in California. 12 years ago was very different, and as stupid and superficial as the A-List was, the very idea that it aired on cable was revolutionary. That being said, the show itself is a crime against humanity, and almost turned me homophobic. So we're just gonna watch 3 episodes from season 1 because my remaining brain cells saw me watching it and told me I'm on thin fucking ice. And we'll explore what has or hasn't aged well, how progressive the show was when it first came out, and most importantly, make fun of other adults publicly on the internet. So let's get started. The show features 5 gay men living in New York City, a sassy assistant, and a token bisexual who I feel was dragged into this against his will. Aside from Mike Ruiz, who's an actually very accomplished photographer who is probably also dragged into this to make the show look more legitimate, the cast's only claims to fame are either from sleeping with actual famous people or doing their hair or whatever the fuck. Or, as they put on their resumes, models. The intro features a song performed by some discount Adam Lambert, and then we're introduced to our main dudes, who all feel like discount versions of themselves. Our first strapping old lad is Riken, a former model, a former actor, a former Air Force pilot, a former Amazing Race winner, and most importantly, a former lover of Lance Bass. But he now leads a successful life as a businessman and designer, and for some reason is the star of an off Broadway play called My Big Gay Italian Wedding. Remember the salad days of when gay marriage was the biggest problem plaguing our community? I would almost trade that for the corporate Pride Month phenomenon of the 2020s. Tagging along Riken is his boyfriend Rodney, a bisexual Brazilian model who seems nice enough and is an inspiration for basic house husbands everywhere. His relationship with Riken is only his second with a man, and he's about to find out that dating a man who's a former everything is harder than it looks. Next, we meet Austin Armacost, who the AV Club described as having a name like a Mad Magazine character, which I can never unhear, and I'm so mad that I didn't think of that first. His claim to fame is sleeping with Marc Jacobs, or, as he calls it, being a model. As he tries to get back into the modeling scene, his former manager fat shames him, which I felt sympathetic to until this.
We've been to Okinawa.
Absolutely no part of this aged well in any way whatsoever. As I mentioned earlier, we also get to meet Papa Bear Mike Ruiz, who is actually a very prolific photographer and director. He was likely cast in the show to make it look more important than it actually is, which is something the rest of the cast does on a regular basis anyway. Mike can come across as a bit vain, but who knows what direction the producers gave him, and he remains the most mature person in the series. Now we get to meet Derek, the first of the cast members who doesn't have his own Wikipedia page. He's a model turned modeling agent, so if that didn't already set off your internal sociopath alarm, his obsession with spray tanning and designated shady bitch role will solidify any questions you may have. He's friends with exactly 2 famous people. Finally, we're introduced to Ryan, a hairstylist who has decided himself that he is A-list because he stood behind actual A-list people while he lopped their keratin off. He keeps his assistant TJ around at all times, not because he needs an assistant, because no hairstylist needs an assistant and never has, but seemingly to make him look better by comparison. But boy, does that backfire when we find out that TJ is so crazily more likable than his senpai. TJ is annoying too, but for some reason, I just can't quit him. The show is at its most enjoyable when he graces the screen. And, let's be real, those shoes are drip. Riken expresses concerns that he might not be cut out to do something that most people go to school and train for years to do. But not to fear, the director says that his oncoming cold makes his voice sound better, and to not worry about the bitchy queens, aka critics. No, 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 no! Mike decides to help Rodney build up his modeling portfolio, so he takes him to a Sex and the City themed party that they're not actually on the list for, but hey, there are cameras present. Rodney is absolutely me at every social gathering. Austin, Derek, Ryan, and TJ all meet up because the producers told them to.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm 22, so it's...
Shut the fuck up, you are not. They say he's been around the block. Listen to me very carefully. No 22-year-old has been around the block. He doesn't look bad or anything, but if he is 22 and a model, all I'm saying is he got a lot of mileage on him. God, I am such a bitch. But Austin reveals that he and Riken hooked up for one weekend a while back. I guess because they bonded over collecting celebrity exes like their Infinity Stones.
I think Austin needs these names to drop because he has nothing else to back up what he does.
Sounds like someone's bitter they don't know more than two famous people. By the way, the two famous people Derek mentioned earlier are Sean William Scott and Lindsay Lohan. So the guy from Dude, Where's My Car, and someone who hasn't been a meme since 2007.
We became very good friends.
And when you say friends, did you play like Tiddlywinks? Like
TJ, you're a goddamn treasure. Anyway, the fact that Austin is going with them all to see Riken's show is causing a big brouhaha, all because he might have banged Riken 9 months ago. For adult men, they sure do act like middle schoolers who think kissing someone means they're gonna get married or something. They all go to the show, and Austin pulls a Joe Biden on everyone, but then delivers something savage that I will probably steal someday.
Connections are made in like the first 20 seconds of meeting somebody. And in the first 5 seconds, I was bored with Rodney.
Then he turns a perfect joke into more vague racism.
And I'm very fluent in English, so we'll have a lot more to talk about.
The man is 22 years old and is already a time capsule. Apparently, being A-list means not being able to get front row seats at an off Broadway production starring someone they know personally. Not even the front 3 rows. I can't fucking think about it without laughing.
I think it's a great bit.
Not even the front 5 rows. I'm done laughing at other people's misfortunes. Who am I kidding? No, I'm not. Riken learns what critics do professionally for the first time when he finds out they hated his performance, so he and Rodney take a trip to the Hamptons. In between some steamy guy-on-guy action, Riken admits to Rodney that he, gasp! Kissed another boy an entire pregnancy ago! And then bam! End of episode 1. I have to know, before going into the next episode, who is this show for, exactly? The biggest improvement I think they could have made is to just feature Riken and Rodney making out in the pool for 40 minutes, and not talking at all. Perfect. On to the next one.
I'm turning 30.
No, you are fucking not. Anyway, Ryan's 30th birthday is going to be a benefit for the California Center, an organization that helps homeless LGBTQ youth, which, to be fair, is a noble cause. But since he demands having hot bartenders and servers, Absolute Chad TJ suggests having shirtless auditions.
are you single?
No, I have a girlfriend.
Oh, that's so nice. Take up your shirt.
God damn, that is so problematic in so many ways, but I still laughed so hard. I don't care if they have a complicit female friend with them. The stereotype of gay guys openly objectifying straight men has not aged well. Then again, I did the same thing with Riken and Rodney, so I can't really say shit. But I'm going to. Rodney meets with Derek so he can get more modeling agent contacts. As they gossip about Austin, Derek stoops to Austin's level with more casual racism, even though he hires people to give him Rodney's skin color every morning. He also doesn't seem to understand bisexuality, even though I thought we as a society had figured this shit out in the 90s. Just kidding, I know we haven't. Against Rodney's wishes, Riken goes on a dinner date with Austin because the producers told him to. Apparently they were serving herbal aphrodisiacs at a party they were both at, and Riken only wanted to bang Austin because of Viagra goggles. Ryan gets Botox from a dentist, which I did not know was a thing. I think he thinks it's a flex.
I can blink and spend 30 grand sometimes.
Does your Mr. Big know about that? Because no hairdresser on the face of the planet spends 30 grand, and no other sociopath blinks. According to Derek, if you're A-list, you go to the Hamptons, so I guess you can add all the upper middle class white frat guys who are home for the summer to your list. Oh no, sis, that's so many dollars in tanning spray!
And the girly boys.
The she-hems and the shims and the trannies and the...
Oh boy, 2010. Derek is disgusted with Austin's comments about Riken's dick size, even though he fat shames him and then snitches on him to Riken. Derek sure talks a lot of shit for a guy who looks and acts like a villain from Glee. Anyway, Ryan throws his yuppie party while the rest of the guys try to dick over Riken and Rodney's relationship. Meanwhile, TJ tries to make the show interesting again with more problematic objectification, but instead we're treated to more catfights about who said what about Riken's penis. The second episode is now over and my deductive reasoning skills have decreased by 40%. Wait. Wrong anime reference. We're on to episode 3, and Austin has just made a taxicab confession. He's actually been dating a British gentleman for 2 years, who seems like a nice guy, but his accent is definitely Scottish, so you're not fooling anyone. There's nothing romantic about dating a Scottish guy.
See how massive it is?
Huge! I can't believe it.
I know, right?
Please, I've seen this porn before. Anyway, the boys do a post-mortem on Ryan's party where they clear the air, but Ryan is here for the drama. He also admits that he sees a lot of himself in Austin and wants to mentor him in becoming a human being.
I don't want to hear more about this kid. I'm so tired.
Wow, what a mood! Ryan invites Austin over and is horrified to hear that his new protege is a hoe after all. But Ryan still takes the traumatized straight girl route and takes up the challenge of fixing him. In the meantime, Austin and his British beau go to Fire Island, where this lady is treated to up-close booty shakes, and we're treated to blurred pubic hair. The dog has said more here than I ever could. Derek enlists the help of the millionaire matchmaker because he's an agent and therefore incapable of finding love.
He's a gold digger and a fame whore. That's why he's always talking about being friends with Lindsay Lohan.
I don't even have to finish this segment. Thank you, Armacost. It looks like Derek couldn't pay her the full $1 because the guy he gets set up with is someone he's already been on a date with. To make matters worse, he spells his name like this. Run, bitch! Finally, TJ comes back when he and Ryan take a tour of Riken and Rodney's new apartment, which looks like my starter house in Animal Crossing. Ryan and TJ rightfully criticize the extremely heterosexual design choices.
Unless you were like in Aladdin, the movie.
Just in case you were confusing it with Aladdin the podcast.
Just because you're gay doesn't mean you have taste.
Thank you, Ryan, for smashing stereotypes as much as you enforce them. That way it balances out. Riken invites Austin over for a sweat sesh, while Rodney's out getting the door slammed in his face by cunty agents. Apparently, Riken was pissed at Rodney for complaining to others about their relationship, so he does the exact same thing with the guy causing the problems in the first place. Sound logic. But Austin introduces his British boyfriend to the rest of the girls, and they have the exact same conversation that they've had about Riken for the past 3 episodes. Good God, I can't believe how fucking boring this show is. So they all go to this pretty lit party to remind us again that they are in fact gay, and give extra money to a guy with an obviously fake giant dick. At least, I hope it's fake. Good God, this man's poor boyfriend.
It's been brilliant, but I'm probably gonna have diamond-encrusted tranny nightmares tonight.
It always makes sense that I cosplay as a psychopath every time I do a video on something that actually makes me lose my goddamn mind. Everyone is absolutely baffled by the idea of monogamy, yet they all demand it even in relationships they are not a part of. What's Amanda Lepore doing here? These idiots don't deserve to be in the same room as her, let alone be on TV with her. And we wrap up this episode with Rodney being treated like a CEO's lonely housewife who makes perfectly reasonable requests for Riken to be more open and honest about his feelings, while Riken coldly dismisses it because the producers told him to. We'll stop here at 3 episodes, but I watched the rest of the season so you don't have to. Why? Because I'm just an awesome guy. Riken and Rodney break up a million times and then get back together when Riken finally makes up his mind about whether or not Austin is a cunt. Austin gets into numerous altercations with the other guys. Mike just continues to do his own thing and then bonds with Ryan over getting a colonic. Derek gets lip injections and then gets stood up, and Ryan wants a kid for some reason. At the reunion with renowned gay rights activist Wendy Williams, Austin calls Rodney a prostitute in an extreme act of self-projection. Austin then announces his engagement to the British guy, and absolute Chad TJ reveals that he had a crush on everyone in the show. So, let's discuss. What exactly does and doesn't work here, and how does the A-list hold up by today's standards? In a sense, it could have been breakthrough television. They really did have the opportunity to be a pioneer in gay representation, especially in the year 2010. The very idea of this show is kind of a big deal that I feel a lot of people take for granted nowadays. The logo put all of its time, energy, and dignity into finding the most aggressively unlikable dickheads in their 30s who have literally fabricated a reality in which they are important. As I mentioned before, Logo marketed this show as a Real Housewives type reality show with gay and bisexual men, which means it was doomed from the start. The reality TV format, which rests on drama and constant conflict, is all about disunity. Everyone is in it for themselves. Their main motivation is to just be on TV no matter what kind of edit they get. No one respects each other or has a connection deeper than skin. It's about as far away from Paris is Burning as you can get while still being considered queer. So sure, we were thrown a bone in the name of gay representation, just not the positive, affirming kind that the queer community had been hoping for. Instead, Logo said, "How do you do, fellow gays? Now you too can be a narcissistic poser on reality TV." In case the subplot of the token non-white guy being painted as an insecure housewife didn't show us enough, the A-list is the epitome of white male privilege in the queer community. We have all seen these bitches before. These are definitely the types of gays who put no fats, femmes, or Asians in their dating profiles. I guess if there's one thing to learn from the show, it's that being gay doesn't absolve you from being a privileged asshole who upholds white supremacy and all the racism, ableism, body shaming, and greedy capitalism it entails. Mediocrity isn't a setback for white guys, no matter who they bang. And you know what? Maybe, just maybe, all of that could have been forgiven if the show just wasn't so fucking boring. No matter what you're making, if you want to tell a good story, if you want to make compelling television, the answer is to always raise the stakes. Even though the recent seasons have sucked, let's talk about a different reality show that some of you might have heard of, called 90 Day Fiancé. The premise is simple. A sometimes overweight, single, middle-aged white person from the States goes on the internet and meets someone halfway across the world and half their age. One of those people goes to visit the other in their home country, and they both realize they were using each other, either for money and to leave their home country, or to just quell their extreme loneliness. And they have exactly 90 days and 1 season of top-tier cringe TV to figure that shit out. But the stakes aren't just high because the relationships always fall apart and these people are out of their fucking minds. They also face deportation. It's kind of a big deal. High stakes indeed. What exactly exactly are the stakes on the A-list? That someone who's already living extremely comfortably gets turned down by some modeling agencies? That some benefit hosted entirely just to look like a decent person didn't go perfectly? That a 22-year-old can't understand why he's so horny? Not only is the cast unlikable, they literally have nothing going on in their lives, which is why they have to pretend to be important. There is absolutely nothing stopping me from living the same lives as some of these men do. All I'd have to do is be more cunty to everyone and spend more money than I actually have. They literally have to make shit up to be upset about, which ties back into the whole white male privilege thing. Aside from Mike Ruiz, every person on this show, and yes, including TJ, is the biggest fucking poser I've ever seen with my own two crazy eyes. And I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal or anything, but as someone who lives in LA and works in entertainment, I am simply stating facts. I can confidently say that I have met and worked with more famous people than any of these idiots. And to put myself on a pedestal, I sleep very well at night knowing that I've got more drip than they do. Even though I'm a self-employed drag queen dressed as a murderous asexual detective prince, we are not the same. How can such worthless pieces of trash be more special than me? Sound off in the comments and let me know what you thought about this show. Again, these are just my own opinions, so if you like the show, cool. You're probably super boring, but still. Cool. Somewhat unrelated, but if you do want to see good gay representation, I highly recommend the new Peacemaker series on HBO Max. No, I am not sponsored. Not just because it's a great show, but because one of the main characters is a married lesbian and it has nothing to do with the plot. About fucking time. But before you do any of that, I ask that you please dick slap those like and subscribe buttons as hard as you can. Oh, but before I forget, the winning comment from the last video! Chocolate Minty says, "Fabulous! I love it. Thank you." Sick avatar, by the way. You too can be featured in the next video. Leave a comment below, and I'll pick my favorite one and give you a shout out, just to make you feel special. Anyway, I am quite finished. And, as always, until next time, howdy-ho.